Welcome everybody to one of my most exciting days of the week because I get the opportunity to teach people and empower people through education to take charge of their health. This has been such a delight for me to put this presentation together for tonight. And I realized there is so much information that as much as I thought I could contain it all in one webinar, it will take a couple. But the exciting thing is that's what a big deal this product is. It truly is going to be a game changer. And so we're going to hear tonight a lot about what the longevity difference is and how we're already seeing, or what impact we're already seeing in people and their health. So hang on, guys. This is exciting. We're going to start off by hearing for our very own Miss Krista.
Hey everybody, just wanted to pop on here quickly and say, one, I want to thank the Soul family for being smart enough to develop longevity. I am in Canada and Edmonton boasts 300 days of sunshine a year. However, today with the wind chill, it's around minus 40 Celsius. I didn't figure out the Fahrenheit before I jumped on here, but anyway, so you're not outside. As you can see, my office is nice and bright. I've got lots of natural light coming in, but on days like this, you're not going outside, so you're not getting true vitamin D. It's not coming in the windows as it needs to be. So mine arrived late Thursday. I started taking it on Friday, and all I have to say is I have never slept as good, and I had no idea. And I take it in the morning, so it's not like whatever, but I went into such a deep sleep. I woke up this morning energized, rejuvenated, like longevity. Like, it's amazing. It's a deeper sleep. It's a restful sleep. I had no idea. I had no idea it would make that. I've tried vitamin D drops in the past. I had no idea that this would be such a game changer. I mean, I knew I needed it. Don't get me wrong. But I didn't know I'd feel this good this fast. So, I started giving it to my daughter. My husband quickly decided he was supposed to take it. I take 2 a day. So stay tuned because I'm excited in another week or two how I will be feeling. Because, wow, this has been game changer already. So I'm sitting here, I'll spin this here, enjoying my diffuser. And someone came in my office and said, it smells like happy in here. So, and I said, that's the soul. And I do a mix every day. So I've got sunshine in my diffuser, sunshine in my bottle, sunshine. It's amazing. If you haven't tried longevity yet, order a bottle quickly. Have a great day.
And guys, this excitement, I am seeing so much of this about this product. And as I was waiting the last 10 minutes before we got started, I just got another testimony that just came in that I'll be sharing also from someone who has had some long-standing issues. So let's start off with learning a little bit about what some of the vitamin D deficiency signs are, and it will give you a better idea of what things we can look at, hopefully seeing changes in. So Krista was just talking about how it impacted her sleep. We're hearing multiple people across the board talking about sleeping, lower back pain. For those of you that haven't got the opportunity yet, I address and go into great detail about lower back pain and how it's tied into vitamin D deficiency issues on a bone health webinar that I've got that ties specifically to the longevity. And then the bone health in general, because we all have heard about osteopenia, osteomalacia, osteoporosis, all this. We know bone health, and I'm seeing so many young kids with bone health issues too that are breaking bones with things and activities that should not have broken bones. Other things that can show up are aching muscles, muscle weakness, general fatigue, and hair loss, which is a very interesting one. We're already seeing some people that are seeing changes in that. The fatigue, I have within a couple days, I had multiple people reach right out and talk about how they were just had all this great energy and just sharpness of thinking. So we also see stuff with eczema, slow healing wounds. That's going to be another deficiency sign for D. Getting sick regularly, dizziness, frequent UTIs. That is a big one. And lots of times these people have UTIs and they're not even aware of it. Who knew that could be tied to a vitamin D deficiency? Impotence can be tied back to D deficiency, severe PMS, and digestive issues. We are seeing some of the stuff, especially with some of the other plants we combined in this formula that are addressing digestive issues for people. Obesity. What they're seeing is that there's a correlation between overweight people and lower levels, not enough, or insufficient amounts of D3 that they have, and D in general. And it's in proportion. So by raising those levels of D3, it can help challenge some of this. Depression, joint pain, and inflammation. I specifically had, for the last 6 months, I've been dealing with my pinky finger and ring finger on both hands. It was like they were just kind of like locking. And then it was feeling like when you hit your funny bone, every time I moved those fingers, it was doing that through my hand. So not a fun experience. Within 2 days of being on the LongeviD, I started noticing a difference because I started with one. I did one for 2 days, and then I went to the two, and the issues disappeared completely. And like I said, I've been working with it for 6 months and multiple things to include different modalities to address it. The D3 took care of it. Pneumonia can be another sign that can tie in with D3 or D deficiency. Reduced cognitive function, we were talking about the thinking, and the reduced endurance for our athletes. It shows up in a big way. But for those of us, think about us moms running around working with kids or being any of us at work. So don't just think of endurance when it comes to athletics. And then excessive sweating. And I don't mean like when it's 100 degrees outside. I mean when it's like 60 degrees outside and you're sweating and it doesn't really make sense. And in particularly, they're talking about the head sweating. So I thought that was interesting. So who is more at risk, more often going to be deficient in D? One thing is going to be people that get inadequate sunlight exposure. Well, right now, that is a lot of us, especially with the cold weather. But think about how many people are working from home. How many people are not going outside right now? So even those of us who were getting sunlight, it's not happening the same anymore. So you are more at risk to be deficient in D when you have this issue. Fat malabsorption, because D, which is typically D2 and D3, is a fat soluble vitamin. When you do not break down fats well, then you will often also be deficient in D3, and it makes sense. They correlate with each other. People who are on a vegetarian or a vegan diet, because the types of fats that they have, or they often don't have enough fats to be able to get the D3, or they're not eating something that might have had D3 in it. As we get older, because our skin gets thinner, we cannot manufacture D3 when we're out and get exposure to the sun. So as we age, our need for D3 and D goes up. Also, people with chronic kidney disease can have issues with this, and that goes back to part of it has to do with the correlation between the kidneys and the bone structure in the Chinese approach to health, and that the kidneys or the water element plays a big role in keeping the structure of the foundation strong. And the higher melanin content. Otherwise, if you tan really easy or if your skin's darker, then what it means is it actually blocks that interaction that happens with the sun that causes that D3 formation tied in with the fat. So these are all things that are going to make you more apt to need this, along with something else we're going to talk about here in a minute. So enter Sol with this phenomenal D3 formula, and it's completely plant-based, guys. For years, I have known the need for D3 because of one specific thing. We live in Kansas, and most of my life has been spent living north of where I've got that arrow there. Everyone that lives north of that, the further north you go, the more deficient you're going to be. Now, does that mean you can't be deficient if you live below that line? Absolutely not. Look at all the things we just looked at that could tell us that we are. But just geographically speaking, we're going to be more prone to be deficient because of living this way. Now, the neat thing with having a plant source product is even though we've used D3, and the D3 that typically that's out there on the market is coming from your sheep's wool. Now, it was taking a long time, and I've always known it would take like 3 months. That's all the teaching. It takes 3 months to build up in the system. However, who knew that switching to a plant source could make this big of a difference? Such a big impact that we could start to see differences within hours on some people. So there's several different plants that we have in here. Reindeer lichen, which we'll get a little more information on that here a little bit later. Plantain. Plantain is a fantastic plant that's high in minerals. That combined with alfalfa and is what I used. That was our calcium source that I used growing up, and that's what I used through pregnancy. That's what I used when my kids were little. And so having that in there combined with our reindeer lichen, which is going to be our D3 source, makes for a phenomenal, just a targeted approach. It comes in and supports wonderfully. Goji, which a lot of people know as wolfberry, very high in some vitamins, antioxidant properties. It also supports the kidneys. Gachi, I'm going to get in depth here in a minute. Our Propionibacterium freudenreichi is an excellent bacteria that also is important when it comes to D3 production. And then we've got some MCT oil, and it's an organic MCT oil extract that goes in, and there you've got part of your oil or your fat to help assimilate and utilize that D3 that comes in the reindeer lichen. So having a plant source, guys, this is so cutting edge. These plants are amazing. And they, like I said, they are slingshotting people into incredible results. Let's hear about Laura's results.
Hello, everyone. So Valerie asked me to talk about longevity, and I'm so excited to do so because I just love this product. I can suffer from seasonal affective disorder, seasonal depression. I am from the South, and so the summer is my absolute favorite of all seasons. And so living in the Midwest now, we have all 4 seasons, which is fantastic. But for me, my seasonal depression really is an issue like from October until March. And so I am used to taking about 10,000 vitamin D, and I get it from a compound pharmacy, which I thought was pretty good, except for it did contain a lot of fillers. And so when Valerie asked me to try the longevity and just take 1 or 2, it did concern me a bit. But to my surprise, it was absolutely enough. And it gave me more results than just helping with the depression. It's gentler on my stomach, where I carry my stress between my shoulders. I'm not feeling that anymore. It really has eased that up. And my husband, unbeknownst to me, has started taking it as well. He actually watched the launch with me, launching longevity. And unbeknownst to me, he went into the kitchen and took some and told me days later that his joint pain has dissipated. And he is a runner. He runs every single day. So this product is fantastic. If you have not tried it, I encourage you to do so.
I love that her husband, that Scott, just went in and did that. That is outstanding. And for him to have that big of an impact, and he is extremely consistent. He does not miss running. So to have that type of an impact when he's continuing to do that type of workout is exciting. So let's look at Gachi. First of all, it is an amazingly beautiful plant to me. It's unusual. I love the heart-shaped leaf, and we've got this up here in the spoon. That's where we're getting a lot of our what we're using in the product. It is an adaptogen, and it does work as a tonic. It's very highly revered plant when it comes into the Ayurvedic type medicine. And there are adaptogens all over the world. So different types of cultures, depending on what adaptogens they have around them, that's where we're going to get the knowledge that have to do with these. Now, Gachi works on what we call an endogenous toxin. That means it's helping to clean out a toxin that is a result of an interaction of something that's in the body, or maybe something that's stored. So it's coming from within. But it could be also from something that got stored in the system, or that's carried in and the body just doesn't know what to do with the area. It could be an assist. There's all kinds of different things. It works as a blood purifier and in getting in and moving things out. It also is an immunomodulator. And like all our adaptogens, whether the immune system needs support so it is functioning a more balanced way, or if it needs to be scaled back and given the opportunity to rest a little bit because maybe it's overactive, remember that's what an adaptogen helps to do. Now, Gachi does have an affinity for the respiratory system, and it's well known and touted for its support that it gives there. Joint health. You can see why pairing this plant with a D3 formula or plants that are high for that, why this would have an added boost to it with coming in supporting those boosts and or those points with supporting the joints. Also, what it does for cognition. This actually crosses that blood-brain barrier and is another boost in a way supporting that sharpness that's coming from our D3, but we're also supporting it through the Gachi that's in here. Also works for the skin. It's hepatoprotective, which means it's working with the liver. Look, doesn't this look like it really belongs in the family? It goes right here, and I can't imagine this formula without this plant. And then what it does for blood sugar. And there are some things that show that studies talking about D and how D3 and how it can help to start helping to modulate blood sugar. So again, Gachi goes in beautifully hand in hand to support this process. It also is a rejuvenative, which means as we age, it helps to lessen the impact of aging. So not necessarily anti-aging, but it helps to keep you more youthful. So it really is kind of a different word. I hope you understand that I'm saying that there is a uniqueness in this. Now, we did look at this when I talked last week about pregnancy, but it was very important to me that I also got this slide in here on a webinar where we're talking specifically about the longevity, because D deficiency related reproductive issues are huge, and where it ties in with infertility, gestational diabetes, preterm birth, not having enough room in the uterus, so it affects the baby as it's growing, whether or not we're tying in for a higher risk for blood sugar issues or metabolic disorders whenever that child is born. So D is very, very important when a woman is pregnant. In fact, the needs for D increase as the pregnancy moves through. And in fact, if that mother or that woman does not support that she will stay deficient in the D also throughout the postnatal period. And it's also important during nursing because not much D3 is in the mother's milk. So adding that D3 in is going to be very important for this. So I have this picture specifically because I want you to realize that when on our longevity product where it says to live forward, this is what this really means. It means that D3 is important at all stages of our life. There's not a stage in our life where it's not needed, whether we're pregnant with that baby, whether that baby is now a toddler and then starting to walk. They're growing, they're active, they're out playing. We're tall and grown now and we're a young adult. And then as we start to hit middle age, and then finally, as we hit older age, there is a need for this at every stage of life. This is very important. Now, does everybody need the same amount? Absolutely not. This is a very unique product and very strong or potent, effective, I think probably is the best word I could use. It's extremely effective. So this is why I recommend people start with one, listen to their body, see how they do, and adjust from there. You can always add a second one, or, in some cases, people are going to need more. Also, because D3 is best assimilated with fat, we do have some fat in there, but I've even been playing around and I've been enjoying in the morning, I make a hot cinnamate. I put a scoop of infatuate in it, and then I also open up a Neuro IM and a Soul Clear SI and put it in there. Well, now I'm also opening up one capsule of the longevity and putting it in there. And it tastes amazing. I absolutely love it. And my body craves it. It's right there with the added fats. So helping to deliver it more effectively. It can also be taken with your Solmega or other fatty foods just to increase the effectiveness of the product. So Rebecca has a great story, and I asked her to share with us about what has happened in their family.
Hey, so LongeviD was something that we were really excited to get. My husband was prescribed 50,000 IUs of vitamin D a week. He was supposed to take it once a week. And when he had blood work done, they said that he had extremely low levels of vitamin D. And that was the one thing that we weren't getting from our Soul program, because he's a huge fan of all the Soul products and uses a lot of them and has had great results. So when we got this, we were super excited. We weren't quite sure dosing, and for him, he's always done well with higher dosing with some of these. Whereas like I would take one a day, he took 4. So he started taking it and he felt amazing. The biggest change I saw was in his sleep. He's always been a night owl. He would go to bed at like 1, 2 in the morning. Then he'd wake up at some point in the early morning hours when it was still dark and, you know, get kind of messed up with his sleep there. And then he'd go eat because he was suddenly hungry. So his sleep patterns were really messed up, and he always had a really hard time in the mornings. It messed up his whole routine, and we all know how important sleep is. So the biggest thing I saw right off the bat was he was so sleepy. And at first he went to bed at like 8:30, like right around 8 o'clock at night, which is so not like him. But he was totally resetting his sleeping. So now he's going to bed at like 10:30. He is out. He does not wake up until it's time to get up. And it's like he's finally getting into a good sleep rhythm, which of course affects your mood and every other aspect of your life, your productivity and whatnot. I mean, with his job, he has to be focused and on point. So this has been such a cool thing to see the mood benefits and the regulation of his sleep. It's been awesome.
I'm so excited about this. And Rebecca's husband, Chris, is a very large man, just like Troy is. And we know these big guys often need more. So to see these type of results is just so exciting to me. Thank you, Rebecca. All right. So I asked Greg if he would take a moment and share a little bit on the reindeer lichen. So, which is tied in with our D3. So, Greg, let's see here. Do you need I can't hear you. Let me do this.
Thank you, Val.
There
Hi,
we
everybody.
go.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, co-host me and I'll share a slide or two.
There you go.
Well, you got me. Okay. And I have to tell you that, listening to Laura, and I loved, Chris is that makes me so happy. I don't know if Rebecca just sent the recording or if she's on tonight. Makes me so happy. Oh, there she is. That makes me so happy for Chris. Because they're both they're big guys, Troy and Chris, and they're these big strong guys, and they're just these teddy bear nice guys, like just the best people. So I love the picture that he gets a good night's sleep. That makes me happy. And Laura Warwick, you made me think of, so my grandma lived in a city called Sugar House, and they had this split level yard. And one of my favorite things when we'd go visit, we lived in California, but we'd go up and visit them in Utah in Sugar House. And they had their yard sloped downward in the back. So they had a walkout lower level. And they had this really cool stone step pathway that went around the side of the house. And that's where she planted all her flowers. And she always had this huge array of snapdragons, which when I was 4 years old, that's where I'd go hang out, because you could play with those you could make them talk. And it's also where I would go when I would sneak into her cupboards, find a box of Jell-O, and then I'd take the box of Jell-O powder, go down in those flowers, and like lick my fingers and stick them in there and eat her Jell-O powder, which is, I'm sure that really helped my blood sugar. One morning, I got up early and did that, and all of a sudden I hear this sweet voice. My grandma was like 5'9". She's as tall as I am now. She was not the sweetest lady, taller lady, bigger lady. And I hear her voice. She used to call me Greggy. I would have given you one, Greggy, if you would have asked me. That's all she said. And I'm like, I was thinking of that for some reason when Laura was telling her story about her husband listening to the launch and then unbeknownst to her going back in, helping himself to the longevity. But you know something? That's good for him. I'm not sure that the Jello was for me. But I love that you're shoring up your husbands, everybody. They need it. So Valerie asked me to, that was a really crazy aside, but Valerie asked me to talk about reindeer lichen. So I thought if it's okay, I'll just review a couple of the slides of information that were shared. And the first thing I'll say is it's so interesting for me to look at it because this is kind of a close-up of it. Valerie, on her map, she had that red arrow, and everybody north of the red arrow, even if you're in a pretty good state where you can process D3 pretty well, we're just not geographically going to get enough, though we can get some good periods of it. And I'm noticing as we read what we know about D3 and where it grows, it's incredibly abundant throughout the Arctic regions, but honestly, it goes about as low as about that line. Because if you look at about where the Mediterranean and Europe, and we're getting this from Europe right now, it's just not available here yet from a reliable source. But give or take, that about Valerie's arrow line, I always find that interesting. Where does this grow? Well, north of that, where the need is. Kind of interesting, isn't it, Val? And I like looking at it close because Dr. Allison tells us what it's composed of. So this slide that Blake shared really just mentions that, look, it's on our radar. Even governmental agencies have doubled the recommended amount. And everyone who's really into studying it says, yeah, still low. Our needs are greater than that. But it does show what Valerie's saying. More and more and more is learned about how it's pervasive in all the vital physiological functions of the body. And I would add emotional. It's one of the things we're starting to know really early on as we see people use it. So they doubled it, and it might be something that we think about. I'm a proponent of what Valerie does. Start low so you can learn your body's levels. And then once you learn them, you might try for a finite period of time. I'm going to see what this is like at double. And then I might go back down, but I might explore a little about what changes, because sometimes those changes, they set some good things in motion in our body. So let me just jump down to the next one. I'm going to skip the other ingredients and go to the other reindeer lichen slides that Dr. Allison showed. It's slow growing, but it's constant and it's very abundant. I don't want people to worry, oh, wait a minute, because of its nature. It is meant for absolutely what we find in it. It's meant for us and animals, and we share this. And luckily there is really plenty. But this is what I wanted to show: this wonderful combination of algae and fungus. And as we learn more and more about mushrooms, I can't remember the slide, and maybe Val, you remember it, but Allison referenced how many types of mushrooms are known and the percentage that we actually have studied to any degree. And I don't even think it's 10%. Do you remember that number of how fungus is beneficial mushrooms known and how many we even know anything about?
Yeah, what I remember is just being blown away by how small the percentage was.
Yeah, like we've kind of I had the same feeling. Wow, this is the tip of the iceberg. Well, here we go. This happens to be sort of a combination, right? With the fungus and this wonderful algae that creates some pretty amazing, and I think Valerie's word is very nutrient rich, in particular in the class of Ds, which is never non-essential at any stage of life. It's a key player. It's meant to be that way at every stage of life. And here's a really good one that shows what we can do with it. So I love this reindeer lichen. It's relatively new on the scene. As Allison said, there's not a ton of research yet. what we see is all good. But what we do know is we're going to learn a lot more about how beneficial all of this is and why you see particular animals guarding a patch as this is our area. It's that vital to their own nutrition instinctually, and it can be a super great help for us as well. I think she has one more slide. I just wanted to show this to end because Valerie mentioned this and I was a little bit blown away with respect to how inefficient we have become in converting sunlight to D3, because I do personally believe it is a factor, it's a function of lifestyle. All those factors that we talk about a lot at Soul, just the general stresses in life and nutritional habits, etc. They're all directly related to how well we convert sunlight to D3. And it's interesting to me, and to me, it's not a coincidence that all the talk in recent years that I hear anyway is about blocking sunlight, how dangerous it is in blocking it. And parallel to that are higher and higher levels of emotional need, of anxiety, anything related to emotional peace and just comfort, and how we're too often, too frequently, or most of the time, feeling always outside of it with stress. That our instincts and what research we see so far is that D3 is very key here, and we got to do something about it. And that did lead us down this path. I do believe that what Valerie said, what accompanies the reindeer lichen in this formula is every bit as key here and makes every bit as difference. But I'm so happy to have a plant source of D3 because I'm a deep believer in how much better we convert versus other sources that we get that they do service, but the body needs a whole lot more to do something with and has to work harder. So I think those are the big benefits of reindeer lichen. Those were the big smile that hit our faces, was knowing we don't even know all the good this is going to do. We just know that this is going to plug a major hole in our needs today in society.
Thank you, Greg. This guy. All right. So got a couple more stories here about the results that we're getting. This one came in from Ashley Brandon. She says, my focus, mental clarity, energy, and bowel movements. She says, this one surprised me. Yahoo! Or even better after 3 days on the product. This is a huge game changer. One client of hers who's been on Soul for over a year said he feels fantastic, and this was the final missing piece to nip depression in the bud. Said she's so excited about getting this product into people's homes, it's keeping her up late. She says, can you tell? It was just neat to see that excitement. Have another one here from Tammy Bontrager. She says, one of the biggest differences she's seen with the longevity is a decrease in her back pain. She had struggled for years with pain all up and down the spine, but especially in the tailbone and low back. She said she might still have some tight muscles or pain there occasionally, but the bones and spine pain feels so much better. It's hard to describe, but it just doesn't hurt. And in general, she feels less stiff. And this next statement is so true. She's right, because adaptogens work better the longer you take them or the more consistent. She's excited to see what results she's going to get. Can we even imagine what we're going to be seeing with people here if we're seeing these type of results in a few days? And I'm also going to go ahead and read this one that just came into me right before we started. This has been a long-time client of mine who has struggled with quite a few different health issues. And just in a few days, she sends me this. She says, I've been taking the longevity. She goes, and I love it. I feel really good. So I asked her what specifically had she seen change. She says, the pain level is way down. I can move much easier. She has an increase in energy and her mood is so much better. I just feel happy. She started, I asked her how much she was taking. She said she was taking 2 in the morning. Is how she started. And now she also does 2 in the evening. And then she also combines it with her ProBio and Vertizymes. So it's so exciting to have when you find that piece of the puzzle that just makes all the difference for somebody. And in fact, this to me is such a major player that this is the way I'm looking at it. Everyone has known that from the beginning that the way I start people is usually on Cinemate, Vital, Probio, Vertizymes. I'm now adding LongeviD into that as that foundation and approach to go to help move people forward. I think that it is a critical component, and I think it's the type of is filling a huge need and something that as a society that we're missing. And it's all about helping people get better. And if this helps amp up the game and get them there faster, then that's what I'm all about, and doing it in a good, healthy way. And never, ever in my 42 years of using a D3 with anybody have I ever seen this type of a result. In fact, most of the time, unless someone went and got a blood test, they could never tell the difference. That right there is the LongeviD difference, guys. So I picked this quote on purpose, and I want you to think about it when it comes to the D3. It says, while it may seem small, the ripple effect of small things is extraordinary. And this is the way I want you to think of your D3. We're putting that D3 in there, and because this unique combination we have going on, and like I said, I'll get more into that in other webinars, it is allowing a ripple effect that's joined up with the other adaptogenic products that people are using from Sol, is just impacting bigger and bigger sections and parts of your health in ways that you haven't even seen yet. We've barely scratched the surface, guys. So D3, it's important. We need it. It's important for our function as a human being. So that little D3 is a big player in the game. Next week, I'll be teaching on starting with your foundation, and I hope that you guys will join me, and we'll target and learn a little bit more about D3 and using it with the foundation approach to get someone started on a program.